Hello. If anyone's there. I see a few of you. I'm having a little trouble getting things started. I've done it using my phone as a camera, but this is the first time I've scheduled it ahead of time and not just gone live and automatically. So anyway, it's not working out the way I planned. Let's see. Okay. Oh, I see Tim Wolf there. Let me see if it looks. The lighting is not bad because I'm not set up the way I planned. Hello, Tim. I keep forgetting. All I have to do is say hello. I don't have to type my answer. Looks like we have 11 folks. If they're all still here. Anyone else want to say hello so I know who's here? I think I'm going to turn it this way. Hello, MS Marco Lupino. Hey, hi. Just give me a minute to kind of reorganize. I was the first time I did YouTube Live, I had like my computer here and my phone was actually doing the camera work. And I set this up on my computer and my phone didn't want me to, it didn't want to be the camera. So, hello, Michael. Hi, John G. Let's see. Wow, I'm glad you're here. Okay, so I'll be ignoring my phone. And let's make sure we're all set. Okay. I've only done YouTube Live. I think this will be my third time, actually. Okay. Roger, hi. Okay, well, I'm glad you're all here. I didn't have a big structured lesson plan. I just have the circle of fourths and fifths. It's on my website. If any of you didn't get it, let's see. Let me know if you need help getting it, or you could just follow along. You could actually do quite a bit with a blank piece of paper. If you can draw a circle and set it up like a clock. That's the first thing I want to do is just take this blank piece of paper and fill it in with the letters. And there'll be a few ahas at that point, I think. And then I want to talk about the first guitar teacher who introduced me to the circle of fifths. He just had some really short, simple things to say about using it that, short of really understanding how it's derived and where it comes from and things like that. And so I wanted to talk about that and then just take questions. Okay. So it occurs to me, might be a good time if a few people are still joining us, just to take a couple minutes if anybody already has a question, and then I can have that in the back of my mind. I'll just pause a minute to see if anyone has a question. Okay. Well, let's just okay, so the circle of fifths comes in so many varieties. So I really like this one, and we'll come back to this, but I just really like how, as a guitarist, I'm actually, if someone is watching that's not a guitar player, there might be other versions that you would like. So I don't mean to just make it only about guitar, but most of you are guitar folks, and I really like it without the key signatures and the list of sharps and flats and stuff for playing guitar. So you might have the blank circle of fourths and fifths. And if you don't, a blank sheet of paper will do. If you draw a circle, 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and, fill in one, just like a clock, 1, 2, 3. Give you a moment for that if you haven't done it already. While you're doing that, let's those of you who are in the Become a Natural program and maybe some of my other live public videos, we've been talking to we haven't talked a lot about BEADGCF except to say this is a really great pattern to memorize. It emerges. It's fun when it emerges again, somewhere else as you're studying music theory or the patterns on the guitar fretboard and probably other instruments too. But it's kind of neat on guitar how obvious it is. So BEADGCF, we want to be familiar. And since I just said it, let's see, I guess I don't have my clipboard. So what we want to do is on your blank circle, come down to 5 o'clock. I have to double check. When I'm looking at the camera, I can get backwards. So 5 o'clock is where you're going to write the letter B, capital letter B. And this thing that we're memorizing, it helps to know that the first 4 letters spell bead. So if you can remember bead and GCF. And that's what we're going to write on our clock going counterclockwise. So starting here, we're going to write B-E-A, wait, can't see. Yeah, B-E-A-D-G-C-F. So C ends up at the top at 12 o'clock. I'm still getting used to this. It feels a little weird because I've done a lot of Zoom meetings and, it just seems like I should be seeing you and hearing you. So right now it should look like this, B-E-A-D-G-C-F. And then after the F, start again with B and keep, write B-E-A-D-G until you'll run out of space down here with G. And you might want to write G just a little to the left. And this is where maybe if you have questions about why the flats and stuff like that, let's come back to that. Right now, I just want you to see that if you need a circle of fifths and you don't happen to have one, you can make it, relatively easily. We're about to put flats over here. So we're going to start with the B flat. And so over on this side, it's actually B flat, E flat, A flat. Let me show you what the flat sign looks like. It's kind of like a small letter B. So we're going to write a flat sign all the way down to the G on each of these letters. And if we have time and you want to talk about these weird things later, we can do that. Okay, if you know about, I wish I had a chart to show this. Okay, flat takes a note and makes it half step lower, and sharp makes a note a half step higher. So if you, the notes, let me look at it frontwards. F sharp and G flat are the same pitch. And so down here, that's why we're going to also write F sharp. Because when you're playing music, you could have, you could call this spot F sharp or G flat. And let's come back to that if that's weird. Just ask a question when I open it up for questions later. Hi, Erin. Okay, and let's just talk about this for a while and then come back. What we have inside on the one that's filled out is these lowercase letters are the relative minors. And it'd probably be good to talk today about like what the relative minor is and where it comes from. But let's just talk about, you can ask a question at any time because, if I say something that's just too weird and you want to clear it up, stop me at any time. So this is what my guitar teacher said to me. I didn't know anything about music theory, really. I'm trying to think how much I knew. I knew how to play guitar very well, but I didn't had never learned music theory. And he was asking me to learn the 1-4-5 chords, which if that doesn't make sense to someone, let me know. We can explain that. But what he told me when he gave me the circle of fifths was just when you're playing a song and you're trying to figure out how, well, see, rewind, back to the days where you didn't just look it up online. You had to, if you wanted to play a song that you heard on the radio or on a record, if your friend didn't have it already, printed, or you didn't buy it in a book, you had to figure it out. I think most of you remember those times. But so he said, so if you're starting the song with a C chord, you're probably going to go to an F chord and then back to C, or maybe F, maybe to G, and then back to C. Or you might start on C and go to G and back to C. But he just said simply, pretty much, whatever key you're in, you're going to go to this one and this one, and you're going to keep coming back to this one a lot. And with that, I was able to, I was at an event where I could hear, some of you have heard this story, sorry if I'm repeating myself. I was listening to a band off in the distance, and I was just trying to play along, and eventually I could find the chord that matched, and I could hear home, I could tell what key we were in, and before long I could guess, just because when he told me that, it narrowed down the possibilities. It's like they're all right there, and just guess, it's going to be this one or this one. So that helped me get started playing by ear with some very simple songs, maybe writing songs, and maybe figuring out a song that was just in my head, and I was trying to figure out how it goes. Let's talk about relative minors next. So I've talked about this recently in another lesson, but not on a public lesson, but let me just explain briefly. Tell me if I lose anyone. This chart shows us, it doesn't look very in focus. It shows us some major scales. The one at the top is a C major scale, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. I like to show it this way because it emphasizes the half steps and the whole steps. And you can see that all the keys have a half step between the third and fourth note and the seventh and eighth note. Or sometimes they'll call this the eighth note, but it's also one because you see it's the same letter, C and C. Okay, so when we're playing a song in the key of C, we play a C chord, we call that a 1 chord. And when we play the F chord, we call it a 4 chord. When we play the 5 chord, a G, we call it a 5 chord. And if we're in the key of C and we play the 6 chord, we call that the relative minor. And that's true for all the keys. So in the key of G, E is the relative minor. In the key of D, B is the relative minor. You've probably noticed if you've played guitar very long that often you'll play A minor and you'll go to a C chord. Or you'll be playing C and walk that bass note down to an open A string, and then you've got A minor. And then a similar thing happens with E minor and G. A lot of songs have E minor and G. Oh, and now is when I have to tell you something really embarrassing. I'm not home right now. I made a surprise trip to my daughter's house because the roofers came early. And there's usually a guitar here, but today there's not. So I don't have a guitar to demonstrate. I do have my harp, though, if you want to just hear how something sounds. So let's go back to relative minors. There's a couple of reasons why it's called a relative minor. They share a lot of notes. So let me just write this to be clear. I don't think we want to dwell on this too much. I've learned in theory you kind of have to stay focused on one thing. If we answer all the questions, it can become too much information. But chords are spelled. And the way you spell a C chord is a C note, an E note, and a G note. And the way you spell an A minor chord is an A note, a C note, and an E note. So this is a C major chord, and this is an A minor chord, And see how the C major chord has a C and an E in it? And the A minor chord also has a C and an E in it. So they're common, they're similar, they're related because they have a lot of the same notes in them. And actually, oh, here's another thing. Who told me this? Well, it doesn't matter. You wouldn't know them anyway. Somebody told me somewhere along the line that sometimes, okay, let's go back to, if you're trying to play along, figure out a song or play by ear or write a song, and you're just using the key you're in and the one beside it and the one beside it. And if you play a chord and it like kind of sounds right, but it doesn't exactly sound right, try the relative minor. And a lot of times that's the one that you're looking for in that spot. Okay, so the main thing to remember for now about relative minors is whatever key you're in, it's the sixth one. So, and even without the circle of fifths, you could do something like C, D, E, F, G, A, and find it that way. If you're in the guitar keys, that works pretty good for most of them. Sometimes there are a couple of relative minors with sharps. So let me just pause and see if there's any questions. What I want to do next is go into put the relative minors inside. Any questions before we go on? Okay, so remember what we said about relative minors and how to know which one it is? Let's look at the key of D. Where you can see it. Okay, key of D. The sixth chord is B. So the relative minor, oh, and I didn't mention the capital numerals mean major and the lowercase numerals mean minor. So generally in any key, the 1 chord is major, the 4 and 5 is major, 2, the 3, and the 6 are minor. And this is a diminished chord that would be best saved for later, I think. So we could see the 6th chord is a B if we're in the key of D. So B is relative minor to D. And what we're going to do is put a lowercase b, decided which pen to use here. Oh, and similar idea here. Uppercase means major and lowercase means minor. So this is a B minor chord. So D is the major chord, B is the relative minor. Does anyone want to guess what we do next? It has something to do with B, E, A, D, G, C, F. Anyone? Anyone? How about we take B, let me make sure I go the right direction. And in lowercase letters, we're going to go the same direction we went before. B, E, A, D, G, C, F, and B. And then, yeah, we are going to have E there. Let's go that far. Okay. We are going to have to add some flats and sharps. So let's just go this far for now. Where did we start here? B, E, A, D, G, C, F, and then B and E. Where the flats and sharps come from, I'd really like to talk about that when we talk about music theory and get into the 3M and the 4M, and I think it'd be best to kind of divide it up that way. So why right now we're going to put a B flat and then we're going to put an E flat, okay? And we'll learn about why the flats and sharps when we go through the 3M and talk more about music theory. And then E flat and D sharp are the same pitch. So we're going to do that thing again at the bottom where we have a slash. So we could think of it as G flat or D sharp. And actually this, if you're a guitarist, the stuff over in here, we don't need to worry much about it anyway, because on guitar, we work mostly over in here. And if you ever work over in here on the guitar, key of B flat or E flat, you're probably going to put a capo on and be thinking in one of these keys. So it's really, I think it's good to just master what's useful over in here. And then if you ever really need to know this, you'll probably be able to learn it better then after you have some experience with the guitar keys. And then just as if we B, E, A, D, so like with this D, we're going to continue the pattern, G, C, F, and they're going to be sharped. So let's talk about what we might do. Let's talk about key of C again, because we're familiar with it, and then choose maybe a key over in here. So, and there's chances are there's a song that you've learned in the key of C that has a A minor and an E minor. A lot of them do. So you know, if you're in the key of C, let me see if I can think of a song. An old familiar tune that is not copyrighted. If you have any ideas, you could tell me. Well, like 500 Miles, for example. I'm not going to sing it, but if you start in C, I thought I could remember it, but maybe I can't. Nope, I was wrong. So anyway, in the key of C, you might, you would start with C, and you might go from C to A, and then you might go to F and back to C. Or you might go from C to E minor, and then E minor to G is a nice sound, and back to C. But a lot of songs, so I guess the short story is these 6 chords right in here will get you pretty far. Lots and lots of songs. That's all you need. So let's look at a key with a relative minor that's a sharp, like you might have noticed in the key of A. So there's those keys with the nice, polite minor chords, and then the ones that are hard to remember, F sharp minor, C sharp minor. But if you were in the key of A and you needed a minor, the relative minor, you might play that, and then you might play 5 chord and go back to the A. But, you know, most likely you would be playing this chord, that chord, and this chord, and then some combination of all these chords and come back to here. And then there's other patterns too that will emerge on the circle of fifths. Any questions at this point? Was there something like you wanted to do with the circle of fifths but didn't know how, or learned about the circle of fifths that didn't make sense, or anything like that? Okay. And I think it'd be neat if you work with that and try some of those things that we've talked about, and then we get together and you might have questions after trying to use it. What else? Okay, since I don't see any questions, let me take, I want to show you how the relationships look on the 3M compared to the circle of fifths. So let's start in the key of C. Okay, and let's find our 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is G. And let's look at our circle of fifths. So our circle of fifths tells us that if we go this way is the 5 chord. So if we're in the key of C and we want the 5 chord, we go that way. Now let's look at the key of G. Sorry. So key of G, what's the 5 chord? D. And that shows up on our circle of fifths right there. The 5 of G is D. Now let's look at key of D. The 5th note is A. So the 5 of D is A. The 5th note, I am leading up to something, in case this part was already obvious. I'm leading up to something that I don't know, fully realize until 5 or 10 years ago. Let's see, we talked about A, the fifth note in key of A is E. Sorry, thinking about too many things at once. And what's the 5th note in the key of E? B. So see how it's just by taking the 5th note in each key is how we arrive at this. So let me tell you the coolest. I actually didn't fully realize this until I was making these charts, but this is the same thing we were just looking at, only it keeps going. The reason I have this, I call this the 5 guitar keys. You can do, I mean, rarely do I think in a key other than these 5 when I'm playing guitar. So you can get a long way just learning these keys really good. But when I made the 4M, I wanted to have all the keys. And so let's just keep going a little bit. Where'd the pen go? Lost my pen. Okay, let's use this. Oh, good. A question. I'm being quiet. Not sure what type of questions to ask. We'll have to strum some of these notes when we're done too here. Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I think it just really we learn when we apply it. We do something with it, and then sometimes things click and make sense. So we need to have another one of the. Actually, you know what would be good is I have 2 more lives. We're going to do one on. Oh. Did I just do a big brain glitch? Was I supposed to do planning practice today? I was. Of course. Yes, you can watch it after it's done. It'll still be there. Hi, Urbano. I was afraid I was going to do this. Oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed. I told everybody it was going to be about planning practice. And I just totally picked up the wrong. Let's talk about planning practice too. So maybe that's enough on the circle of fifths, but I'll finish that thought. Let me see what these other questions are. The music maps. Yes, the music maps are on my, the music maps are on my free instruction page. And if you're on my email list, I shared the link to the free instruction page in the last couple of emails. Let me know if you can comment on YouTube and I would see it if if you need to reach me. The 3M and the 4M are kind of buried, lower. You have to scroll down, but the circle of fifths and the planning practice PDFs I'd put at the top of the free instruction page. Okay. Yeah, so if let's see. I was thinking I could show that to, I guess I'll just say this. If you have trouble finding the 3M and 4M, go to my free instruction page. If you have trouble finding the link, put a comment here on YouTube, or some of you can email me, and then I'll help you. If we have email contact, I can always share it with you in a link. And if you do find the free instruction page, you can just scroll down a bit and you'll see the 3M and 4M. But real soon, I plan to put it at the top. I'm not sure today or tomorrow. Let me write it down. I have paper to write down promises. And I could just, let's just say I will put it, I'll go ahead and do that today or tomorrow. I'll put the 3M and 4M at the top of my free instruction page. Okay. Oh, and Urbano in the UK, if you're still there, you might have signed off by now, but you can vote on the times for the next, there's going to be a workshop on May 1st, and I left that time open, so everyone can vote for the time on that one. Oh, why? That's a good question. Wondering why 3M and 4M are named that way. Yeah, and you're going to see all lessons anyway. This is sort of an outgrowth of, I can't remember how many years ago now. I think it was 2016. I started a therapeutic music training program, and it was based on harp therapy. So we were all working with harps, and there were a lot of people in the program that were confused about the theory. When you play a harp, let me just show you really quick. I think I make this a quick story. Ooh, it's pretty dark. Our lighting is limited here. There are some lights I could turn on. I'm sorry it's so dark. Oh, there's one light that doesn't bother me. I'm very, very sensitive to light, and if I get the wrong lights on, it makes it really hard for me to think. And it's a very cloudy day. Natural light is good for me.
I'm still not sure about that.
I don't know if that's any better. There's one more here. I hope that helps. So anyway, it's the natural light works good, but it's really kind of dark outside today. Okay, so but on harp to play scale, let me start here. It's just they're all in a row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then if you want to be in a different key, you flip the levers to get your sharps. And it gets complicated when you talk about flats. So the beginning harpists are really confused about getting their harp in the right key. And playing in the right key is important in therapeutic music because different people, anyway, that's all beside the point. But I was helping a fellow student who was having trouble with it, and I made her a chart kind of like this, and it helped her a lot. And they asked me to make one that's nice that they could use in their instruction. So I created this. I've actually always liked to I've never seen it like this anywhere else. I've always liked to show the spaces between the whole steps, and then because there actually is a note here, you can call it C sharp or D flat. Here you have D sharp or E flat. E and F are a half step apart, and I like to show that. And then, so this is a chart that the harpists could use to, whatever key they're in, figure out what sharps and flats they need. And I just named it. I think, so yeah, I made this one first. I don't know why. I do think music is kind of magical and mystical, so I just wanted it to have a name, so I named it. This is a 3M because it's smaller. It's just magical. That's a magical music map. And this one is mystical magical music map because more weird stuff happens. And then I have a 5M. That's the marvelous mystical magical music map. Because the harpists were saying, well, could we have one that keeps going so we could see the minor scale? I'm not sure how useful that one is, but I made it anyway. And that's the 5M. Okay, let me see if there's any new questions. That's okay. both. Just got on 2 hours behind here in, oh, hi, George, Arizona. I'm enjoying whatever you are teaching. It's a rainy day. Oh, we all got a rainy day, Margaret. Hi, Margaret. And hi, Mike. I didn't say hi. Thanks for the explanation. The charts are really helpful to see. Yeah, thanks. I'm glad you like them. Yeah, and we'll use them more when we're studying music therapy and we learn about spelling chords. Okay, I have to pause. I feel like we were going somewhere. Okay, I was just figuring out that I'm teaching the wrong topic. So I was planning to wrap up Circle of Fourths and go on into practice because I allowed for an hour. See what time it is. Yeah, we still have plenty of time to talk about practice. And if we run out of time, we could talk more about practice. Was there anything I left unfinished about the Circle of Fifths before I move on? Okay. Okay. So for those of you in the Become a Natural program, you've already heard some of this, but feel free to ask a question at any time. I decide how much to tell you about. Okay, actually, this was an outgrowth of studying therapeutic music as well. One of our teachers is the director of music therapy. I keep forgetting, Arizona or New Mexico University, and she taught us about the 3 phases of skills acquisition. And later on, when I was writing my blog about how the brain learns music, I did some research and I found the researchers who sort of coined the phrase skills acquisition, or the 3 phases of skills acquisition. And this goes for any skill. It could be knitting, embroidery, cutting vegetables, playing baseball or golf, or music. For the brain, it's the same. And I think it's really important for musicians to be very aware of the cognitive phase, because if you don't know that it's supposed to be awkward, it's really easy to come to the conclusion that it's always going to be awkward, or I'm just not good at that. But it's actually a skill that can be developed. And it's an illusion. Like if you're sitting side by side in music class or band or whatever with a friend who's picking it up really quick, it doesn't mean they were born with a gift that you don't have. I'm not saying some people aren't born with a little something special, but no matter what you're born with, like Mozart, his dad was a composer. And, so I'm sure he was hearing all this amazing things in the womb, and hearing develops. It's the first thing to develop and the last thing to go. So my point is, when you're side by side with somebody and it seems like they're picking up really fast, for whatever reason, they have developed some of that skill. But you can still develop it too. And I think before too long, there'll be something that you're really good at that they haven't developed yet too. All my private students, it seems like they're strong at one thing and they're weak at one thing, and everything else, you never know. Seems like a couple questions came in. Okay. Cold, overcast, wet, and dreary in Colorado Springs. Hi, Jim. So when we do a new skill, the first phase is the cognitive phase, and it lasts the longest. And you're supposed to, you have to think. We have to communicate with each other. The teacher will make you think. And that is actually a thing that trips me up as a teacher, is I have to be careful not to get people thinking too much, because that can be paralyzing when you are ready to go into the immediate phase or the autonomous phase. You don't want to get too hung up in thinking. But a new skill, it could be a new chord. When I was playing for, let's see how many, about 40 years, I can't remember, 30 or 40 years when I started playing with my husband Hamp. And I made all kinds of chords and played, those classical pieces. But he taught me a new chord shape that's kind of like, it's like a B7 upside down and backwards. And I had to practice. That one was awkward, even though I'd played for all those years. And I had to practice a lot to get to where I could go to it quickly. There's nothing really physically difficult about it, but it was just new. It was a motion that I hadn't made those neurological pathways. And that one still will trip me up if I've not practiced it lately. Let's see. A lot of times skills develop from other things, yes, and it makes it easier in other areas. Gives the illusion of being, yeah, exactly. I was a baton twirler when I was a kid, and I think that helped me a lot when I played guitar. And I've noticed that I live in the middle of ranch country in a small town, and the kids in town, I've just noticed a difference. The ones from the ranches, at first I thought it was just because they work with their hands, or maybe it has something to do with being around the animals, riding horses. I don't know, but the parents and the kids both, they seem to take to it very readily. And I had a student who learned very quickly. She was not a ranch kid, but she started talking about how her mom taught her embroidery. So I do think there is something to it. Oh, I'm glad you like longer days. Good. I'm liking that too. And we're going to have various versions of it. For now, it seems like everyone's happy with the one version I created. But let me know if anyone wants something harder or easier or more appropriate for flat picking or something like that. Okay, so probably talked long enough about the cognitive phase. And then when you've done the skill quite a bit and it's starting to feel more comfortable, not so awkward, call that the immediate phase. And in the immediate phase, we still have to do a lot of repetitions to refine it, to make it easier to play without making mistakes, to eliminate errors. And this can be deceptive too. We've gotten through the cognitive phase and it's easier. We've played it several times in practice and it's like, oh, this is so great. I can't wait for my teacher to hear. I can't wait for whoever to hear. And it's going great in the practice room. And then when you get in your private lesson, I mean, I can't tell you how many times this happened in college. And it's not there anymore. So when you're in the immediate phase, you can play it great lots of times, maybe even in practice or on stage. But then something distracts you and it's like, okay, what was the next chord? It's not autonomous yet. So we still want to practice it lots and lots of times to get it in the autonomous phase. And once it's in the autonomous phase, that's when, people talk about muscle memory, or, it's in your fingers, or you know it when your fingers know it. It seems like your fingers know what to do, because it's just such a different sensation than consciously deciding what to do. It just kind of like gets started and keeps going. It's really cool. Maybe let's go ahead. So I'll say, keeping this in mind, what we want to do when we practice. So first I'll talk about planning practice. So, I put both of these. This one is really blank. Once you get the hang of it, you might want to just use this one because there's more room. But I also put some little notes over here just to kind of emphasize that warm-up and exercises. Oh, I didn't say this yet. In order to play music, we have to practice motion. It's just like athletes doing their skills, throwing the ball, kicking the ball, practicing your golf swing, practicing your batting swing, even though there's not a baseball coming at you. We practice motion. And then we put all those skills together to play the game. Same thing with music. We practice motion. So warm-ups and exercises are practicing motion. It's developing that neurological pathway so that when you tell your finger to go from here to here, the signal goes faster, a lot faster than it did at first. And then the rest of practice I call playing music. And this is not to have like a sharp line of demarcation. it's like, okay, I'm not practicing motion anymore. I'm playing music. There's a lot of overlap. But that's the general idea. And the thing I love about that is that, there's a couple of things I love about that. When I was a kid, I didn't do exercises because I just wanted to hurry up and play the music. And I often, I did, that was an immature approach because I didn't understand how much the exercises would benefit me. But also, I didn't have anyone giving me exercises that were designed specifically to get me where I wanted to go. And my harp teacher is the one that tipped me off to this, that when you're learning longer days, and there's that part that goes from A7 to B minor, and that's a new movement. If any little spot or chord change is tripping you up, it could be the right hand or the left or both. You take that little piece and break it down, however much you need to break it down, and make it an exercise. So it depends on how readily it's coming to you. If the right hand and the left hand is too much, you could just practice what the right hand is going to do as an exercise, practice what the left hand is going to do as an exercise, and then put it together and go really slow. Going slow is like waving a magic wand. Your brain just needs a lot of time at first because those pathways are really slow. So when you get that tough spot in the song, take a little piece and make it an exercise. There was a question. Do you know how we get to? Yeah, right. Practice, practice, practice. And well-planned practice. A lot of people say they practice a lot, but they're not getting somewhere. So we want to design the exercises that are going to help us play the skills we need to play our songs and our music. So that's where exercises come from. You want it to be informed by the music that you're playing, or something I'm working on is graded exercises for guitar. If anybody's ever seen those, let me know. They have them for other instruments. Like harp is great. They have all these, it starts easy and it gets a little harder and it gets you where you want to go. All the guitar exercises I'm familiar with start out really hard. I mean, they're like training you to play at Carnegie Hall, classical guitar, like Segovia. This will be uploaded as a video. Yes, you'll see it. It'll be it'll stay on my channel. And you can watch it later. I cheated and just bought tickets. And then, so remember, when you put an exercise here, that's probably in the cognitive phase, and it might have to stay here a long, long time. And then when there's no way to exactly define when it's immediate, but when you have more ease with it, I would put it as a warm-up. And then you're going to want to keep it as a warm-up for a while. So you can play lots and lots of times, and, go ahead and play it in your music. But then when you go to learn your song, you already have those tough spots worked out, and you have it's a little more fun to learn the song. If you just go straight to the song, then a lot of the song you're going to have, and there's going to be those darn tough spots. Let's see. Let me think about this for a moment. Exercises. Oh, here's a really cool thing. That new chord, or that motion from, say, A7 to B minor, whatever those tricky little movements are that you design an exercise out of. Oh, and for those of you in Become a Natural, I do have exercises designed for longer days. We'll be talking about that soon. But you can, that little challenging piece that you picked out, you can get it in the autonomous space only just so fast. Oh, let's talk about that a little bit. The main thing that gets it down here in the autonomous space is how many times you've done it. That's the main thing that speeds up that neurological pathway. But definitely doing it a few minutes a day, every day, will get you there faster than doing it for half an hour on Saturday. So really doing it every day will get you there faster. And the more repetitions, it'll gradually get faster. And don't be in a hurry at first. If you just slow down, this is exactly like driving in the snow. If you just slow down at first until your brain has a little more ease with making those fingers move to the right place at the right time, then with the repetitions, it'll naturally speed up. It's a lot easier to speed it up once you've got it slow. But this is the cool thing I was leading up to. So that one skill that you made, whatever you made, exercise, and then you turned it into warm up. Here's where, if you have more practice time, you can really make good use of it. Pick out, you could do almost as many exercises as you want. That one skill, you can only progress just so fast, and do it however much that day. Not 100 times, just like 10 or 20. If you do it 10 times, take a break and do it 10 more times. It's better physically if you maybe do it 10 times and then have another exercise. You could have several exercises. If you want to do exercises for a half hour, have several exercises, and then as you get better at them, put them in warm-ups, and you could have several things that you do for warm-up. And you'll be developing, say, if you had 5 of them, if you have lots of time to practice, you would be developing all 5 of those skills and sets of motion, however fast you can, but you're developing not just 1, but 5 of them. So in that sense, you can progress faster by practicing longer, because you can do almost as many as you want. Just each specific motion will only get you there just so fast. Let's see if there's any. Is the best way to learn a new song, do a few bars and then move on and repeat what you've learned? So that's a question. Is the best way to learn a new song, do a few bars and then move on and repeat what you have learned and continue? That's what I usually do. You don't have to learn it in order from beginning to end. You can learn it in any order that you want, but I do. For some reason, I just learn the beginning. I'll learn a piece. I don't push through the whole thing. Let's see if I've answered that. And then the tough spots, I will definitely turn them into an exercise. And the easy spots, I might turn into a warm-up and just play that easy part of the song over and over in a warm-up. Did that answer? Let me know, Mike, if I didn't fully answer your question. You did this workshop today. I've been negligent with my practicing. Yay! If you have an hour to practice, what percentage should, that's a really good question. If you have an hour to practice, what percentage should each section have devoted to it? That's really personal. I would think, I'll answer it 2 ways. As a general rule, I would have, depending on, if you have an hour, I would say, let's see, 10 to 15 minutes on exercises and 10 to 15. If you don't want to give, if you don't want to give a half hour to exercises, 10 and 10, or even less, like maybe 7 and 7, and then you'd have 45 minutes to play music. It kind of, to a certain extent, depends on how eager you are to develop those skills, and it may vary, depending on what your goals are right then. We didn't talk about trajectories. We need to talk about that. Don't let me forget. But it might be this week you're really anxious to learn that new song, and so you just I would always spend a few minutes, like at least 2 to 3 minutes here. And when you practice, of course, you start with warm-up and then do exercises. So 2 or 3 minutes minimum, 2 or 3 minutes minimum, and then you could use the rest of your time for learning that new song. But if the instrument is really new, like when I was learning harp, that was a big aha, just how much having the right exercises was important. it was amazing how hard it was, because I'd been a musician for many years, and my right hand was always, the finger picking hand on guitar was always the easiest thing for me. That came more readily than the left hand stuff. So I thought, I'll just be finger picking with both hands. How hard could it be? But here's another thing about gaining new skill. Sometimes the problem is not so much telling your fingers what to do, but convincing your fingers to not do that thing they've done a kabillion times. And so sometimes people who've worked with their hands a lot, it's like trying to get your hand to not do something that I used to do. So my left hand on harp, for me, it was hilarious, because I knew I was going to get it because I'd been around developing musicians enough, but another beginner might have been totally discouraged. And it's like, this left hand is impossible, but it seemed like forever. So my point is about warm-ups. Harp requires excellent technique and a lot of relaxation so you don't get injured. And I got injured a lot during my first year of trying to play harp. It was bad. And then finally I broke down and got a teacher. I should have done that right away. So the end of the story is, when I got my teacher and started practicing again after healing from the tendonitis, I just did exercises for 2 months. That's all I did. And I would practice for a couple hours. And I just, for some reason, I enjoyed it. I was just plucking strings. I love it. And I knew that I could see my progress. Actually, if you're doing exercises for well-planned exercises, not just random, some book has exercises in it, but these were exercises that were specifically helping me. My teacher helped me, know which ones to do to develop the technique I needed to get where I wanted to go. And I could see the improvement because I was doing like an hour or two of exercises every day. So for me, that's what I had to do, or I wasn't going to be able to play harp at all. So I hope that answers your question. It kind of depends on your immediate goals. Let me see what else came through. Okay. Okay, so when it's new, it goes here first, but when you're practicing, you start here with something that's already pretty easy. And that's why in the, most of you are in the Become a Natural program. That's why I started with the readiness exercises. I just made them as easy as I could imagine. So we were just doing right-handed, that's it. And even if it's just plucking one string, it gives you something easy to do, and you can focus on some good habits and some good technique. Okay, I said I was going to talk about the trajectories. This will inform, what we do here. This is things like I want to learn finger picking, I want to learn how to write songs, or I want to play classical guitar, or, a certain style, or I want to understand music theory better. And then, and actually exercises, I use that as a time for things that are not just the physical skill, but also a new theory thing. I might spend some time, I did spend some time learning where my roots are on all the chords. That came pretty quickly. Well, actually, I guess, come to think of it, I'm referring back to when I started learning more like the secrets of the pros. When I started hanging out with my husband, Hamp, he told me, one of the first things he told me was, on every chord you play, you want to know, this might be jumping ahead. You want to know the 1, 3, 5. That means like when you spell a chord, a C chord, this is called 1 and 3 and 5. It comes from the first note of the C scale, the third note of the C scale, and the fifth note of the C scale. So knowing in each chord shape, and then we are going to get into this in the Become a Natural program, knowing in each chord shape which note is the 1, which is the 3, and which is the 5. I did some work with that in my exercises too. Okay, it's difficult for me to make some chords. Yes, that's a good exercise, and never underestimate how much you can break it down. I'll just take the G chord, for example. I'm going to assume, I don't have a chart. I'm going to assume we're familiar with the G chord shape. Let's see if I had a guitar neck here, would look, something like that. That's a difficult stretch for a lot of people, but you could spend some time just playing these two and just skip that first string. Or you could just play these two and don't worry about the fifth string. This finger here, the tall finger, can mute the fifth string. You could make the same shape, only smaller. If you can imagine this one on the first string, you could actually move it up to the second string and let this finger mute the first string, and then you don't have to spread them out as far. You can really use your imagination. If you ever get stuck, let me know, because I love coming up with ideas like that, to where you're getting part of it. You maybe not necessarily doing all of it all at once. Let's see. Okay, it's difficult for me to make some chords. That's definitely a good exercise. Yeah, if you find like you can actually make them, but it's just slow getting there. Oh, this is a great exercise. A lot of times if a student is playing a song and there's just that one chord change that comes, like in Hallelujah, a lot of people have trouble with, if we're in the key of G, there's a D to a B7. I could be misremembering, but if that's the hard change from B7, from D to B7, remember how I said what makes it faster is how many times you've done it? So that's a great way to just lift that chord change out of the song and play it nice and slow. You're not in the song. There's no rush. There's no frustration because you didn't just mess up the song. Everything was going so well. So an exercise, just very slowly go back and forth. Take all the time you need to make the chord change and just do it, 10 or 20 times. Relax in between. That is a really important habit. And since it's a new chord and it's difficult, it's real easy to stay tense all the time. So actually, if you're doing this exercise, you would want to just take all the time in the world, make D. It's hard to do without a guitar. Make D, and then feel your hand relaxed. And then make B7, feel your hand relaxed. And actually, what you don't want to do is, sometimes this trips people up, is make D and then go like that. You want to just relax. So your fingers are still kind of close to the neck, and then make your B7 shape. Relax, keep your fingers kind of cupped like that. Go back to the D. Sometimes with difficult chord changes, there's if there's a specific one, I think it'd be good just to ask me specifically in another workshop maybe, or on an email or in a comment, because a lot of the chord changes have little tricks. Like those of you who are doing longer days, there's that A7 to, let's see, did I show this part in the lesson? I think I might have showed it already. A7, we would just move one finger, keeping the other finger down, and then move the other finger, kind of like a walking bug, not lifting both of them. And that way the finger that's still planted is sort of a guide, and then you have a new finger planted, and that kind of helps your other finger know where it is. Yeah, and the chord exercise, you could do that with if you wanted to have 5 or 6 exercises, you could take another chord change and go back and forth and back and forth. Hardest issue is getting my left-hand fingers on the correct string. I just don't have that feel yet. I try not to stare at my left hand. Tim, have you tried going really slow? Oh, that's interesting about warm up. Yeah, that makes a big difference. Is sometimes, especially if you're playing something difficult, is playing for a half hour or so, then you might play a lot better. So for some people, having more than a 15-minute practice is good. I mean, in the beginning, you can definitely gain some skill with short practices, but as the music gets more complex, sometimes it helps a lot to spend some time kind of in practice, and then you are able to go a little deeper and accomplish more because your mind's warmed up and your body's warmed up. Okay. Well, this is fun. This is really different. Wow, it's 5:06 already. Any burning questions before we wrap up? So let's see, we covered planning practice, and we covered, so in the next, let's see, okay, if I remember correctly, what I actually said, I said I was going to do planning practice, and I said I was going to do Circle of Fifths on May 1st. So on May 1st, let's just follow up with both. Because it makes a big difference when you have something, make some plans, work with it, and new questions may arise. Maybe try listening to a song if you're able to figure out what key it's in, and see if you can play by ear, even if you can't get all of them, or just a song that's in your head, an old familiar song. Play it, and then when that chord doesn't sound good anymore, try either that one or that one. For some of you, that might sound like everybody's developed in different areas, different extent, and you may or may not be ready for that. But know that if everything that it's so cool. So I'll finish with this. Let me see. It's very slow. Yay. Chord to chord. And Tim, you've found that to be helpful. Well, actually, if that's how you've decided to practice, I guess it's because it was helpful. This has been wonderful. You're welcome. I think I'm definitely have memory issues. So I'm sorry when that trips me up. Thank you. You're welcome, Mike. Okay. Help me out. What was I about to say? I consider myself a late bloomer. Late in life, I got to, like in high school, I tried out for the senior talent show and I didn't make it. I was playing and singing a lot of stuff, but I didn't sing very well, for one thing. My family didn't sing very well. So they loved music. So I loved music and I heard plenty of music, but my ears weren't developed by being around a good singer. And no clue about music theory until I got in college. So what I'm trying to say is I consider myself a late bloomer, and I watched peers that like back in high school, I was like, wow, they're so talented. How did they do that? It's magic. I can't do that. But gradually I noticed that I actually was, getting better. Things that used to be difficult became easy. And since it's been something that's been a big part of my life for a long time, I've really seen that development in my own brain. And I just want to say things that seem impossible, they're in the cognitive phase. Sometimes it takes 10 years, I'm not saying it's quick, but I just, want to say that that it develops. And I guess part of the key is just making sure the process is fun. We're enjoying our practice. And I came to enjoy exercises because I know that when I go back to the instrument, playing a song, it's like a gift to myself. I'll be able to, I'll be more talented, actually, is actually the way I look at it. And I'm not the only one who looks at it that way. You're welcome. Not an expert, but allow your left hand to walk the fingerboard. Oh, okay. Yeah, you definitely can. I had a student who just from the very start, she insisted on not looking. She just felt it. Yeah. And actually maybe try that. I can't remember which one of you asked about, but you know who you are. maybe go really slow and find that string. You might get better at finding it if you don't look. Um, feel your way around and just feel which string you're on, and say, okay, I think I'm on the 5th string, and then check and see if you're right. And that's the thing about exercises and warm up. It doesn't have to be making music. And then you can feel the frets, feel them. Okay, which fret am I on? And feel your way around. If you've learned that interval of a third, see if you can feel that. Find that one spot and see if you can, by feel, know what string you're on and what fret you're on. And, open your eyes and check, see if you're right, and see if you can feel that third, because you're going to use that third a lot in a lot of chord shapes in music. Okay, I went to Woodstock. I came home. Oh, neat. Couldn't learn on my own, so it sat in my chest. Oh, my gosh. Oh, wow. That's a neat story, Tim. Actually, my big sister is maybe your age. She wanted to go to Woodstock, but she was 16, and my dad wouldn't let her. I think that was a good call on his part. But, wow. Yeah, I just, you say it's tough to retain things now. Yeah, well, let's stay in touch on that, Tim. And I love solving problems. And when there's a unique issue for anyone, like, I don't know about retaining. I don't know. I'm just saying, I know what it's like when my memory fails me. And yeah, just let me know how it's going, Tim, if there's anything I can do to help. It does start to stick after a while. And I think here in the Become a Natural program, that's why we play our exercises when we're just learning notes and shapes with the backing track, because that turns on the whole brain is participating when we're listening to music and playing our Oh, that's the cool thing about exercises. If it actually is musical, that's really great too. But I think I'm going to have to wrap up. Thank you all for coming. Great questions. I'll look forward to meeting with you on May 1st, and you can vote on the time. I may favor those overseas who vote on the time this time to make that work for them. Oh my gosh, you in Amsterdam? That's so cool. I will watch the rest tomorrow. Thank you. Thanks for staying up. Nice to have you here. It's kind of small. Yantien. I'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye.